Manchester United. I just realised as well, actually, I think I can make this slightly bigger for you guys. There we go, that might be a little bit better. I realised because I'm on like a 4K display, it might come out a little bit smaller. Try there we go. He realises that in the third part, of course. But yeah, so we looked at from Everton all the way down to Man United. No, all the way down to Man City. We're going to do Man United down to Wolves this episode. Every single time I record an episode of this, and this is recorded at 1 PM on the 3rd of August, so I'm just putting it out there that anything that happens after that I obviously can't take into account because I don't have a time machine yet. Anyway, Crystal Palace have signed German midfielder Meyer. As a Palace fan myself, I'm very, very happy with that signing. He was signed on a free from Schalke. Apparently he was kind of touted as a bit of a German wonder kid, but fell off a lot due to what people are saying was attitude problems, ego in particular, but sometimes, you know, a fresh start or a particular manager can get the best out of a player like that, and I think Hodgson is the type of manager who is more suited to those kind of players, because he's not like a Mourinho who just, you know, if anybody speaks out of turn then they're, you know, out the team and they're off, but he's more of a kind of, you know, work with the players and, you know, arm around their shoulder type of guy. So I don't know really what happened to Schalke. I'm just going by what some Schalke fans have said and what journalists have reported, but I think what everybody does agree is that he's very talented, and probably this is a bit of a coup for Palace to get a guy like this, because don't forget this is on a free. It's not like we paid like a vast sum of money to the club for him, you know, and went, oh well, Palace just outbid everyone. No, we you know, got him on a free transfer. That being said, free transfers are never free, okay? Never think like, oh, that's great, we just literally got him free, didn't pay anything. I think someone was saying that Emre Can, when he went to Juventus on a free, he got paid 14 million personally himself by the club. So while the transfer fee is never as much as, say, you would pay if you were trying to buy out their contract, when they go on a free transfer, you know, often the fees to the player are ridiculously high. So it's never a free transfer. For those who don't know about free transfers and how they came about, I can't remember what year it was, but I think it was in the 90s, and there was a journeyman footballer called, I think his name was Mark Bosman. No, just been Mark Bosman actually, I can't remember. Let me actually look it up. And it became known as the Bosman ruling, because what he essentially did, he was out of contract, and yeah, Mark Bosman, and it was against a Belgian club he was at, so kind of fairly small time, it wasn't like some major thing, but basically what he was arguing was that because he was out of his contract, he could just essentially leave the club and go elsewhere, and before that happened, like, you still had to pay a fee, like clubs were still demanding fees for player, which kind of seems ludicrous nowadays, because you're like, well, hang on a minute, if you give me a contract that ends on, say, the 3rd of August, then why would I still be at your club? But that was how it was, and yeah, he kind of like took them to court anyway, and the EU decided that you know, this would come into Bosman ruling, and it became a very, very, very significant ruling. 1995 it was, so not that long ago, to be completely honest with you. And he really was he wasn't like a top level footballer or anything like that. As I said, he plays for like Standard Liège. I think that was probably the biggest club he played for, to be honest. He won 20 caps for Belgium, but at youth level. But this was when Belgium weren't that good, so not like Belgium nowadays or something. But yeah, so I think modern day footballers can thank him a lot, because obviously we now have the kind of free transfer ruling where if a player wants to leave at the end, he can. It gave a lot of power to the players. whereas the clubs had a lot of power before that. And I'm not saying that's good or bad necessarily, but it is the way it is, and it enabled us to get Max Mayer, so I'm happy with that. I love the hashtag that Crystal Palace have got, which is Mayor of London. It's clever. I'll give them that. I dislike the when clubs keep trying to one up other clubs with the stupidest announcement videos ever. There was one I saw and it was I think Aston Villa did it. It was to do with Love Island or something, and it's Jesus Christ. I mean, I think Palace had that, and they had a little video on top of some rooftops in London and stuff like that. But that was it. I was I'm happy with that. That's fine. But don't do it's embarrassing sometimes, when it's this really dumb announcement. I know it's all in fun and jest, but you're making a meme out of your guy who's just started. As for other transfers, you can see we'll talk more about the Newcastle one later, but Fulham we've already talked about. They signed Alfie Mawson. I think that's a decent signing. I'm not gonna I think Alfie Mawson is a little bit overrated for what he achieved last season. Swansea did get relegated, let's not forget. But I think kind of a club like Fulham is kind of ideal for him. They like to play football. He is more of a kind of football playing centre back as well. Think someone like John Stones or something like that. And I think that suits them very well. I think a lot of people were saying this guy is going to be the next big defender or whatever, but I think signing for Fulham, and with no offence to Fulham, kind of says let's wait another season or two before we make that kind of assumption. Yeah, so I guess let's get into it. Man United, first off. Man United. Are Man United still the biggest club in the world? I know fans of other clubs would disagree, obviously. But looking at this as somebody who is I don't want to say neutral because I'm not neutral, but looking at somebody who's not a fan of one of the major clubs in the world, everybody keeps saying Man United's still the biggest club in the world. I guess revenue-wise they are, but I can't say. I think Real Madrid winning the European Cup 3 times in a row probably elevates them above Man United, who have won a Europa League and a FA Cup, I think, in those 3 years. I think that's all. Not that that's nothing, but it's not 3 Champions Leagues, Now, Mourinho at Man United. I could talk about Mourinho at Man United for an entire episode here, so I'll try not to waffle too much onwards, he says, as he adjusts his chair. So, from day number 1, I never felt like Mourinho was the guy to go to Man United. I think it was a choice by Man United to get the most high-profile manager they could possibly get. A manager with a proven track record of winning, and kind of get them in, and and then that would kind of, everything would be alright again. After the disaster of Moyes and then Van Gaal, I think they just went, right, we just want someone with proven Premier League experience of winning things. It's won things all over Europe, and when you look at Mourinho's CV, it's magnificent. It really is. He's won Champions Leagues all over the world. Well, he's won trophies all over the world, let's say. He's managed in obviously Portugal, England, Italy, Spain. He's done a lot. And for a guy who's kind of, as a manager, self-made, he worked his way up. Used to work with Bobby Robson at Barcelona as a translator, I think, something like that. So, I don't think Mourinho is a bad manager in any way. I just always felt like he was a bad fit for Man United. The reason being is that Man United, they went to Moyes and then they went to Van Gaal, and after Ferguson, who always played attacking football, I wouldn't say he was like a Pep Guardiola type of manager in Ferguson, but his teams always played attacking football, whether it's counter-attacking or just straight out attacking. They always played attacking football, and obviously I personally think Ferguson is the greatest manager there's ever been, for what he's achieved. And obviously, you know, anybody following in his footsteps was destined to fail. You know, so Moyes never really stood a chance. Van Gaal just played the most boring football you could ever imagine. Tried to play passing football, and that was all it was. Like, they literally just passed. They didn't do anything else. And then, as I said, I think they wanted someone with a track record of winning to come in, and they got in Mourinho. Now, Mourinho is known for kind of two things, I guess. He's known for, number one, getting big players into his club. Like, the thing which I always see about Mourinho, especially when he goes to big clubs, so like Real Madrid, Chelsea, Man United, he always wants to sign the biggest players. Like, he always goes on about transfer signings, okay? He's not a guy who is going to work necessarily with academy players unless they are extremely talented, okay? He's going to want to sign proven, experienced players. Now, that's kind of fine for Man United in a way because they have a lot of money. But on the flip side, they also have a lot of very good young players. So I never felt like he was the kind of guy to bring those through. Like, I mean, people may disagree with me, but I never felt like he was the guy who will bring through a young player, nurture them, and, you know, improve them. You know, I know everybody kind of like scrutinises the whole Chelsea time when, you know, he let players like Lukaku go and De Bruyne go, and, you know, guys like that, or at least didn't, you know, improve them, shall we say. And to be fair to him, like, from his point of view, that's not what he's there to do. You know, he's there to win football matches, and, you know, I always feel like he's kind of like, well, I you know, don't have time for that. I need to win football matches. Don't have time to bring players through. So I never felt like that was a good fit. And then his style of football is a very efficient kind of, well, when it's at its best, it's just solid. Like, that was what you would call it. You know, Chelsea, when they were at their best with Mourinho, you know, they weren't boring to watch in any way, I don't think. They were just really solid and efficient. It was in its own way a work of art, because, you know, you just had this team which was just impossible to beat, pretty much. You know, we all know his track record in home games with Chelsea. It was this fortress, you know, and that's what he wanted. And it was always this kind of like mentality of them against us with him. And I feel like at Man United, that's not a great look. I feel it works well at clubs like Porto, Inter, and even Chelsea in his first kind of stint, because they were up and coming clubs, you know. And it was kind of like, yeah, we're the underdogs. We're going to break in to the big boys. And his kind of attitude worked well there. When he went to Real Madrid, things started to fall apart a bit. He was there at the biggest club in the world, and you can't really have that attitude when you're at the biggest club in the world, or one of, because you're not the underdog anymore. You're the overdog. You know, you're the big boy in the garden, and, you know, you're also expected by the fans. Like, Real Madrid fans are notoriously harsh. Like, you know, they'll boo Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, they expect perfection. Like probably not many other fans in the world. And if you could win all you like, but if you're not winning with style, like, they're going to be on your back, and that's kind of what happened with him there. Came back to Chelsea. We all know how that worked out. Again, I think it was just a clash of styles. Chelsea were a big club then, and, you know, established force. You know, one of the biggest clubs in Europe, and again, I think it didn't quite work. And I think the same thing's happening at Man United, where he's trying to play the underdog to Man City, and people are just like, just shut the hell up. How many times does he talk about how much money they've spent on transfers this season? He's talked about how much Liverpool has spent on transfers, you know, compared to him, and it's like, you can't play that card when you spend 100 million on one player. Now, I know what people are thinking. Listen, Mourinho does this all the time. It's mind games, okay? This is what he does. He tries to get into other people's mind. Listen, I remember his time, that first time at Chelsea, or the times when he was at Porto and Inter and things like that. You look at his body language and the way he was then, everything was with this kind of, you know, tinkle in his eye and this cheeky smile and this kind of like sly grin, and everything now is with this dour face and this snarl he just does not look like he's enjoying it, basically. There is a remarkable difference in this guy from like that time at Chelsea when he was the special one, you know, to now. He's not the same person. Things have changed him. So I don't know. I am a fan of his because I think he's achieved a lot, and I think he puts up with a lot of criticism about stuff. He does bring a lot on himself, but he is very clever. Like, I will say that, you know, he takes the deflection off the players very well. Like, I've talked about him for the last 5-10 minutes and not spoken about a player, you know. So he does do that very well. That is what he's very, very good at. And he's very tactically astute, obviously, as a manager. Sometimes I feel his man management could do with working on. Players like Luke Shaw would probably agree with me there. But yeah, I think I think this is a make or break season for him now. People always talk about the third season with him. It's usually the one where he breaks down. Well, I mean, I don't know. I look at this squad and I don't think it is as good as Man City's or Liverpool's. Now, Mourinho's won leagues before with squads which aren't as good, so maybe that's working into his favour a little bit more, weirdly. But the one thing Mourinho does like is a solid defence, you know, and that's what he had in his heyday at Chelsea. That's what he had, you know, when he won the league with Real Madrid. That's what he had at Inter Milan, and that's what he doesn't have at Man United. He's obviously got the keeper, okay, David De Gea, brilliant keeper, shaky World Cup, admittedly, but proven Premier League goalkeeper, no problems there. This side, Lee Grant, just a third choice backup keeper, you know. Romero's the second choice. Now, this is where the problem comes in the defence, okay? Because you have Victor Lindelof, who has not looked great. I thought he had an okay World Cup, actually, so maybe he'll come back into reckoning. Eric Bailly, who is by far their best defender, but has had fallings out with Mourinho. So, is he going to come back this season, or is Mourinho going to hold that grudge? Because Mourinho holds grudges. Jones is not a top defender, in my opinion. I think he's a Premier League defender for like a mid-table team. You know, someone like Everton would do well to sign him, but he's not like a good enough player for Man United. He's been there a while, and I think injuries have taken their toll on him. I just don't see him as a good enough defender personally. Same with Rojo, not good enough. Chris Smalling, Mourinho doesn't seem to like Chris Smalling, I don't think. Again, not too sure on him. Don't think he's that good. Ashley Young is getting on a bit now. Is he 32? 33 now? I don't know how many legs he's got left, but they have got the younger Luke Shaw on the left. But again, Mourinho kind of doesn't like Luke Shaw, so you had that problem. Valencia is one of the best right backs in the league, I think. Again, 32 years old. You know, when left backs and right backs in modern games are so devoted to getting up and down the pitch, you know, once you're hitting those ages, you are going to struggle more than a 23-year-old, without a doubt. But I still think Valencia's going to have a good season. He's one to think about for your fantasy football team. Darmian seems to be really out of favour. Dalot, they signed a young Portuguese defender. I think he's out until September though with an injury, so I don't know if he's one for the future. He's 19, so I can't particularly see Mourinho putting him straight in the team, but could do at some point. Fosu Mensah's an interesting one. Okay, I've watched Fosu Mensah for the last couple of seasons. I think he's been on loan at Palace, and I would take him back in a heartbeat. He is a very good defender. He's got a lot of quality. When I watched him, I think it was again when we played Man City. We came so close to beating Man City. We missed that penalty, but we drew 1-1. He was magnificent. I looked at him there and I was like, this is a better defender than any of Man United's defenders. So I hope they give him a chance this season. I think he's 22, 23. It was 20. Jesus Christ! I didn't even realise he was that young. Is he going back to us on loan? They've got him down as loan. Why have they got him the 2018-19 loan? Do they know something I don't? Sorry, it's only one season I watched him, but yeah, he is brilliant in my opinion. That's interesting. Why they? That's got to be a mistake there. Like they're just weird. Maybe they just know something I don't. But I didn't think we were getting him back on loan. Let me have a look quickly because I don't want to. I thought we tried, but they wouldn't let us. No, I don't think he is. I think it's just a mistake on there. But he's a pretty versatile defender. He can play centre back, he can play right back, and he can even play defensive midfield. And he's very good. I think a real talent there. Dwan Zibi, I hear a lot about as well as being really good. But again, like I just don't see Mourinho trusting. Like if he's got a 32-year-old right back, I don't think he's going to play Fosu Mensah there. So maybe he's going to have to go on loan. Maybe he's going to have to leave. Maybe he'll leave and come to Palace. That would be nice. Then you get to the midfield, and on paper this is a really strong midfield. Really strong midfield. Pogba had a brilliant World Cup, but not such a great league season with Man United. I feel like he's better equipped now, I think, to come in and be better because of the signing of Fred, I think, in that midfield. Because I think ideally they're going to play like three across the middle with Pogba, Matic and Fred's like a kind of like a, I don't want to say like a holding midfielder, but he's more of a left-sided kind of central midfielder. Him and Matic will free up Pogba to get forward more. Now, you have players like Herrera and Fellaini as backup, as he's used Pereira, who has an awesome free kick on him, by the way, as well. So you have some good backup there. Lingard, I felt had a decent World Cup. I wonder if he's going to feature a lot more. Mata, I think Mata needs to leave Man United. I would take him at Crystal Palace in a heartbeat. I think he is not only a genuinely like nice person, if you don't know of his initiative, to where like I think it's all footballers give. He's trying to get footballers sign up to give 1% of their salary to charity, I think, and he's got a lot of other players to sign up. He does a lot of charity work. He's he is kind of like, if you can have a role model in football, Juan Mata would be it. If you ever heard him say anything bad, have you ever heard any bad press about Juan Mata? No, and that's because he's a good guy, like, and sometimes too good a guy. Like, I think he should definitely leave Man United. To be fair, he played 28 times, 25 times, 38, 33. He's not getting gains, if that makes sense. I just feel like he's a bigger player than Man United are using him for. I think he's a magnificent player. Like, he is one of my favourite players. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see with him. McTominay is a young up-and-coming midfielder again. Like, I feel like he would get a game in a lot of Premier League sides, but probably not Man United, or as many games. I know Mourinho has used him, but I think he used him like in spite, to kind of rile up some other players a little bit. How many games did he get last season? 13, 6 substitute appearances. But he's young, and Man United have a good track record with young Scottish midfielders, in particular, or strikers as well. And then you come to the forward lineup, and this is a brilliant forward lineup on paper. Yeah, you got Sanchez, Lukaku, Martial, Rashford. You got a problem here, though, haven't you? This guy doesn't want to be at the club, I don't think. Like, he wants to move. Tottenham have been kind of the linked club with Alderweireld going in the different direction. Wouldn't necessarily be the worst move in the world, because Alderweireld would improve that defence immensely. But you do lose something in your attack there. Rashford, Rashford could be one of England's best players, and I'm saying like, oh, he needs more games. He played 35 games, admittedly 18 of them as a sub, scored 7 goals, but I feel like he needs a run in the side, you know, in a position where he's going to improve. But I don't know if he's going to get that while Lukaku's there. And you can't argue against Lukaku. Like Lukaku's a really good player. But we had a disappointing season, I think, for him from what he would have liked. You know, he was improving at Everton every season. We got the same season in twice there, but you can kind of see that he was improving, and you know, he hit 25 in that season before, which is what caused you know, Man United to sign him for such a high fee. And I think he'll be disappointed with 16 goals, but I don't necessarily think that's his fault, because the way they play sometimes, the way he's so isolated up top, is ridiculous. So yeah, we'll see. Now Sanchez is the interesting one, because without doubt he has been disappointing. Like, he had a bad season last season, you know. When you look, he was improving all the time, hit 24 goals for Arsenal. Coming to the end of his contract, they swapped him for Mkhitaryan. And paying him mega bucks, apparently, like, according to some newspapers, so take that with a pinch of salt, he's going for up to 500 grand a week. I don't know if that's true or not, but Jesus Christ. Now we all know Alexis Sanchez is a magnificent player. I think he's gonna have a good season, because he hasn't had a World Cup. He's had a break, you know. He hasn't had that in a long time. You know, when he's been playing for Chile, and I think that's going to do him the world of good to allow him to settle in and get some pre-season with Man United. And I think he'll be raring to go, you know, the first game of the season. So, whereas a lot of these players at Man United did go to the World Cup, I think Martial did, but Lukaku, Rashford, I think Fred did, Matic, Mata didn't, Lingard, Fellaini, Pogba, you know, they all went to the World Cup and did quite well. The World Cup at least got through quite well, and yeah, so I think they'll be looking for Sanchez to really help them. I don't know whether or not he particularly suits Mourinho. There's a lot of like people saying, oh, they only signed him so Man City didn't. Well, Man City just signed Mahrez, so I don't think there's a huge amount in between Sanchez and Mahrez currently. So it didn't really work, did it? But I'm not sure that he is a Mourinho player. Like, Mourinho likes solid, strong players. He doesn't like players who lose the ball a lot, and Sanchez loses the ball a lot. So we'll see. I mean, like, Man United season could go two ways, and I've realised I've been speaking about them for like half an hour now, but it could go two ways. Okay, it's either they're either going to have a really great season and Mourinho's going to get it together, or it's going to be an utter disaster. I don't think there's either way, you know. And from the Mourinho's body language and from what he's saying, you know, his recent, like, he was saying about how, you know, he wants 2 players, he doesn't think he's going to get them, he's going to get one, and he's already moaning about transfers already, you know, whereas you look at, say, Pochettino, and you know, let's not beat around the bush. Man United have signed some players. They've signed Fred, and they signed Diego Dalot. Lee Grant was more of a backup, so don't quite count that. But they have signed players. They haven't lost anyone major. I guess Daley Blind, but he wasn't playing, you know, and Carrick's retired. But my point is that, you know, you look at Pochettino at Tottenham, who's just saying, like, you know, don't panic, we'll get players in, and they haven't signed one. So I think, like, you have to take it, like, you have to take everything Mourinho says and does with a pinch of salt, because it could all be mind games, but it also could be the unravelling of his Manchester United career. So we'll see. Whatever happens, it's never boring with Mourinho, is it? You know, it's never, there's always some drama, so I look forward to seeing whatever the hell happens there. Anyway, let's move on, because I spent way too much time talking about Man United, I think, there. If I was going to kind of say, like, as I said, they're either going to be in the top 4. I don't think they're going to win the league, but they're either going to be in the top 4, or they're going to be like round here, I think, and have a disastrous season for them anyway. And Mourinho will be out by January, and they'll get in Geeksy. I don't know. We'll see. Newcastle. Now this is interesting at Newcastle as well, because Newcastle performed miracles last season. I think like genuinely Rafa Benitez. Like, people were talking about Huddersfield escaping Brighton, but I think Newcastle's one was probably the greatest mistake. I think they ended up like 10th last season or something, didn't they? Let's have a look. Yeah, they ended up 10th. Newcastle, okay, and I mean no disrespect, but I think Newcastle's fans will agree with me. Last season, they had a championship level squad. Like, a lot of these players, they have 1 or 2 players who are a little bit better than that level, but other than that, it's kind of championship level. And Benitez has done an incredible job there. How on earth a bigger club hasn't come in and signed him, I don't know. Especially with everything going on behind the scenes. If you don't know too much, Mike Ashley, who is Newcastle's chairman and owner, is a complete and utter a-hole, okay? He is, I mean, some people would say he's a very smart businessman, okay? He runs a company in the UK called Sports Direct. Sports Direct is all about the cheapest kind of sports clothing, equipment, trainers on the market. So you might think like, oh, okay, that's cool, you know, but they have very shady business practices. Like, they have workers there on like 0-hour contracts and stuff. If you don't know what 0-hour contract is, it basically means that if you're on a 0-hour contract, you still work for the place, but they're under no obligation to actually give you any hours to work there. It's a scumbag move, which, you know, he's been up before Parliament before because of these kind of measures and, you know, things like that. You know, people talk about how Amazon treat their workers, I think in America and stuff like that, and trust me, this guy's got a similar kind of business going in the UK. He's a scumbag, basically. He has run Newcastle on a shoestring. If you finish 10th in the Premier League, you get a lot of prize money, okay, a lot. And if we look at the players who Newcastle have brought in, you've got a free transfer, a loan deal, Dubravka, who did very well last season, undisclosed, but probably only a few million. Fabian Schär, a few million, and then Yoshinori Mutu, I think, came in recently for 10 million. They sold Moreno for 10 million as well. They sold Mitrovic for 22 million. So they've made like 10 million in the transfer market. Okay, from players they've sold. So they ain't spent a penny. He has not spent a penny. In fact, he's made money off their transfer dealings. You might go, well, that's good business, isn't it? He's been doing that for many, many years, trust me. And Benitez, like, you feel like, I don't know how long Benitez has got at the club, because Benitez is getting more and more outspoken about him, and there's even rumours, okay, get this, there's even a rumour that when the Spain job came up, Ashley sent a letter to Spain offering them Benitez. Who does that? He doesn't want to sack Benitez because, I guess from his point of view, Benitez, he'd have to pay him money, and from another point of view, he does a great job. Like, all Mike Ashley wants is for Newcastle to be in the Premier League. He does not give one jot about how well they do or anything else. He doesn't care about the fans, nothing. He tried to rename the stadium to the Sports Direct Arena, I think it was. There was nearly an uproar. There was nearly riots in Newcastle. Newcastle have some of the best fans in the league. People always say that, but it is true. They have real hardened supporters who, you know, even when they were in the Championship and got relegated, they were turning up, 30,000-40,000 a game, and in the Premier League, it's 40,000-50,000. If they had more seats in St James's, they'd fill them out. So it's a club which does make a lot of money. You always see people, if you ever go to Newcastle, it's just like black and white shirts everywhere. They buy all the shirts and stuff like that. They're making him a fortune, and they hate him so much. But what can you do? Like, there's been consortiums coming to buy Newcastle, and I think that they're a great club to buy. Like, a little bit of investment in the club, in players, like say 100 million, which I know is not a small change, but it is to some of these investment companies, and they could be challenging for top 8 easily, top 8, top 6, they'll make back in that support. So yeah, I think Benitez was probably manager of the season last season, I've got to say. I know Pep did wonders, and I know that what's his name at Burnley, can't remember his name now, did well. Obviously getting them into Europe, and just a lot of managers did well, but I think Benitez did just an amazing job. I like Newcastle a lot, and I really want them to do well, but they've got to get Ashley out, and there's been offers, but he's just highballing them. He's like wants more and more money. He's just a greedy fat bastard. He really is, and he needs to get out of football fast. So that's my rant about Ashley over. But yeah, in terms of their squad, Dubravka, who they signed, they had him on loan last season. Very good goalkeeper, actually. I think Rob Elliott is a very good goalkeeper. He got injured. Freddie Woodman's a really good young up-and-coming keeper as well. They actually have 4 very good keepers, to be fair. They're probably the best equipped in the Premier League in that department. But Dubravka did really well, so they signed him. Freddie Woodman, I think, won the Under-20 World Cup with England. I think very good young keeper, one for the future. His dad, Andy Woodman, was a very good keeper as well. Defence all revolves around Lascelles, who has really come of age. He's the club captain. Really, really good defender, and it surprises me no one's come in for him because he's looked brilliant last season. Benitez is known as having a very solid team, and he's kind of built that in. And they have a solid defence, to be fair. They need a few more. Shaw, I don't know how you pronounce that. Again, solid defender, not going to blow the doors off or anything, but solid. So, I think defensively they are as they were last season, and they had a fairly solid defence, so they should do okay there. Midfield is kind of a mixed bag. They have some very, very good players, but some players who are very inconsistent. So John Joe Shelvey springs to mind. A lot of people are saying he should have gone into the England squad. Problem with Shelvey is he's very, very inconsistent, and he has some discipline problems which perhaps don't want a World Cup. So no one would deny that he's very talented. He can pick out a pass, he can shoot, he can do everything he wants. And I think Benitez is getting the best out of him. That's why he was rated to be in the England squad. But I think he needs another season to just prove that those kind of problems are behind him and that he is ready, and he'll be there. And he's still fairly young. What is he, 24, 25, 26? Okay, close. So he's still got that prime, but he'd be an important player for them this season when he fires. Newcastle fire. You've got solid players like Diame, Ritchie, Atsu's a good player. Orlando Aarons has promised a lot. I haven't quite seen that much. Ki Sung Young they got on a free from Swansea, very solid, tidy midfielder. Kennedy they got on loan from Chelsea. I don't think he's ever going to play a game for Chelsea ever again. But yeah, very good left-sided player. And then the forward line was where they were weakest, I think. So I'm a massive fan of Dwight Gale. I think he's brilliant. I never wanted Palace to sell him. I think if we'd have had him last season to bring in instead of Benteke, we would have been a lot better off. I think he's just a poacher, an out-and-out poacher. And there's rumours of him leaving. I think that would be a mistake. I don't think they've got another player like him currently. Even with Mutu they signed, they've got Perez, who's more of a kind of number 10 sort of player. Joselu is a kind of more of a big forward. Armstrong's a young forward who will probably go on loan, to be fair. And Mutu's this kind of, as with a lot of Japanese player, exceptionally industrious, hard-working, does have an eye for goal. He's not bad. I think he's a really good signing for them, personally. But I think for an out-and-out goal scorer, Dwight Gale is not a bad bet. I think he's a really good signing. So yeah, I think they're going to stay up again if it doesn't blow up behind the scenes and Benitez leaves. If Benitez stays, if they can get in a couple of extra players, as I said, they're about 20 million in the green. as well. I'm sure they got a few for him. But yeah, they're about 20 million in the green. So if they can, keep Benitez, and if Ashley can sort his life out, then they've got a good chance to stay in the Premier League and do well. I think they'll be around mid-table if that happens. If it doesn't happen, I think they're going to really struggle to. I think they're really going to struggle. They've got Tottenham first game, very tough game. By the way, Man United have got Leicester as well. Again, tough game. Very tough. It's only a week away. I'm so excited. Okay, this is a long one, isn't it? Southampton. I'll be quick on Southampton. I think Southampton are going to get relegated. That's my quick. I kind of hope they don't, but I have a soft spot for Southampton. I lived there for a couple of years. It's a really nice place, but I think that the signings they've made have been very uninspired. They often sell their best players. They were so close to getting relegated last season. I don't think that... Is it still Mark Hughes who's manager? I can't even remember. Yeah, Mark Hughes, Jesus Christ. I think Mark Hughes is a decent manager, but I mean he nearly took... Well, he kind of did take Stoke down last season with arguably a better squad. So, yeah, I don't think their summer transfer signings have been Stuart Armstrong from Celtic, Elennisi from Basel, Gunn and Vestergaard from they're not the most inspiring. They lost Dusan Tadic, who has often been a very good player for them, but wildly inconsistent. Probably do quite well for Ajax. So yeah, I think unless they really manage to strengthen, particularly with a striker, I think they've been poor up front. I think Austin's a good striker, but he's been injured a lot, like a lot. 7 goals in 24, of which 14 were substitution appearances, is not great. Gabbiadini just had a bad season as well. 5 goals. You can see they're just not scoring goals, are they? Shane Long's not a goal scorer really. He's a very hard-working striker, but he's never been a real goal scorer, and there's not a huge amount of goals in midfield. You have players like Redmond, who was just awful last season for a lot of it, and he's a very good player. So yeah, Southampton are, I'm afraid, my pick to get relegated, or one of the relegated teams. I don't think they're going to have enough this season. Of course, they could get in 2 or 3 more players, and it could make them look a lot better. We'll have to wait and see. They've got Burnley on the first game of the season, which I don't think they want to be playing Burnley in the first game of the season, especially now Burnley are kind of warmed up a lot as well, because they've had a couple of Europa League games. It could be bad times for Southampton there. What are their first few games actually? So they've got Burnley, Everton, Leicester, Palace. So they're not playing any of the big sides to begin with. So the worrying thing there is if they don't come out of that with a lot of points, then they're gonna struggle when they come against the big boys. Nice third kit. Yeah. So I like Southampton a lot. I always have done, but it doesn't look good for them, I don't think. Tottenham Hotspurs. Let's have a look at their summer transfer. They've signed no one. Spurs have signed no one. They haven't lost anyone, which is also a good thing for Spurs, but they haven't signed anyone. On paper, Spurs look like a side who could challenge for the league title. On paper, the problem is if some of their players get injured, they struggle to back them up. So in goal, you've got Lloris, very good keeper, very good. You've got Trippier. He was magnificent at the World Cup. For me, looks like one of the best kind of right wing backs in the country, if not like the world. Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Davison, Sanchez, and again, there's very large rumours that Alderweireld's going to leave, but I can only go with what they've got right now. Very strong centre defenders, all look very good. Danny Rose, there's rumours he's going to go, but I think he's a very good left back. Serge Aurier, very good. Good young player in Carl Walker-Peters. Ben Davies is also decent. They got real solid players there. really good players in midfield. You've got like Lamela, Wanyama, Dyer, Sissoko, Dembele, Ali, Ericsson, Moira, Winks. Good, like they're really good. Okay, that's a really good midfield. I feel like a player like Ericsson is kind of a little bit irreplaceable there, as the very kind of creative one. And Ali didn't have a good season last season, to be fair. Dembele might be on his way out as well. And he's been very good for them, so we'll have to see. Moira joined kind of late on, so we'll see where that goes. Up front, you've got Son, Kane, Llorente, Janssen. I think Janssen's going to go without a doubt. Llorente said he wants to stay as a backup to Kane. Kane's the key there, though. I mean, this guy's a phenomenon. He is a phenomenon. Look at these goals. I mean, he is incredible. Burst on the scene, 2014-15, and just improved every single year. 25 now, and arguably, in a number 9 role, at least top 3 in the world, at least, if not top in the world, in my opinion. Played a lot of football though. You can see that 37 games last season. Was injured for a little bit, but not too long. Played a lot of games at the World Cup, and he looked exhausted at the World Cup. So I don't know, and the problem is, if Spurs don't play Harry Kane, they're playing Llorente, and they look well inferior. And then you get the other side of things where it's like, well, they can't attract another striker because they know they're not going to. They play one up top at Spurs, and it's going to be Harry Kane. So what do? They don't seem to have a young striker coming through. It's a tough one. Spurs apparently want to sign Wilfried Zaha. I don't think that's going to happen to Spurs. I'll tell you why. Spurs are tight, okay, with their money, and Palace are not going to sell Zaha at a cut price. I guarantee you that much. Number one, Zaha's not unhappy at Palace, okay? He might want to move, but there's a difference between being unhappy and wanting to move, and wanting to move for your career. I think from Zaha's point of view, if a big offer came in that Palace accepted for a big club, I think he would probably take it, but I don't think he's agitating for a move. So the problem is that Palace are not going to sell him cheap. If we see Richarlison go for 50 million, okay, who had half a good season, we see Wilf Zaha, who had an entire good season, and also previous good seasons, then you get to a point where you're going, and obviously the other important thing as well is Zaha's like a homegrown player. He's an English player, but which helps for like European games and things like that. Whereas Richarlison's obviously Brazilian. Not that Everton really have to worry about European games right now. But anyway, my point is, like, I saw some crazy newspaper article, and it is crazy, by the way, that Palace were going to sell him to Spurs for like 35 million. It's like, are you insane? Like, there would be riots in Croydon if that happened. Like, if we see, I think the Richarlison deal was the worst thing that ever happened to Spurs, because, like, Palace are going, well, if that guy's worth 50, then we want at least 70, 80 for Zaha, and I don't think that's unreasonable, okay? Spurs ain't going to pay that much money, I'm afraid. So, like, I just don't see Spurs with their new stadium this season that they're still paying for. I can't see them buying him, so I don't think Spurs are going to get him. I could be obviously completely wrong. I think the other club that's been linked with Zaha is Chelsea, who could spend a lot of money on him. But I don't think he's a Chelsea player. Like, I don't think he fits in. Maybe he does with Sarri, okay. But I don't know. I think that's a bit of a weird one. Anyway, Pochettino is a brilliant manager. Spurs play really good football. They look really good. They're just always never quite there, are they? They're never quite doing it, Maybe this is going to be the season. They're going to sign some players, okay? Like, we all know Daniel Levy at Spurs runs a tight ship, wheeling and dealing. He's going to sign players. He's going to leave it as late as possible to sign players. And that transfer deadline day is going to be big for Spurs, I think. If they lose Alderweireld, I think they need another central defender. I think their midfield is great, even if they lose like Dembele. I think they need some striking options there, really. Son is brilliant, but he's more of a kind of wide striker. But yeah, I think that's where they would need him, and maybe just some other kind of backup players, just to kind of add to that squad. But I think they've got a really good squad. This is the best Tottenham team I have seen, and I suppose it's last season's Tottenham team as well. It's probably the best Tottenham team I've seen since the days of like Lineker and Gascoigne, to be completely honest. They just need to win something now to kind of cement that. But yeah, they'll be up there and about. They'll be challenging, I'm sure. Their first game of the season is Newcastle, as we said. It's a tough game. It's going to be an interesting one. The one thing you got to say about Spurs, though, is I wonder how the fatigue of the World Cup is going to affect them. They've got Belgian players. They've got a lot of Belgian players, a lot of England players. A lot of their players went to the World Cup. So is that fatigue going to hit them? Of not getting as much rest, or the players coming back late to pre-season, so not being as fully adjusted, or will it not? I don't know. We'll see. Watford are a quiet club, aren't they? They've done some quiet business. You can see they've brought in 6 players. The biggest one probably Deulofeu, who you got to see as a replacement for Richarlison. But there's no way they've spent anywhere near the money that they got for Richarlison. So, I mean, I think we'll see some more deals for them. They're a well-run club, Watford. It's really solid. Who's their manager? I can't even remember their manager. That's how solid and boring they are. Javier Garcia. Yeah. Or Javier Gracia, sorry. Gracia, I don't know. They're just kind of solid, aren't they, really? You look at their players, there's no one outstanding in there. There's no one who you're like, oh, that guy's, if they took him out, then they're not going to be as good. The core, I think, just signed a 4-year contract, so they'll be happy with that, because I thought he looked one of their best players last season. This guy looks stacked. I don't even know who he is. Yeah, they need some more strikers. Like, their strikers were a little bit blunt last season. Deeney's getting on a bit now. Was he 33? 30? Wow. I thought he was a lot older than that. Deulofeu has been very hit and miss everywhere he's gone. Some games he looks world class, some games he doesn't. So, I don't know. We'll see on that one. But I think a good replacement for Richarlison, to be fair, as a kind of wide forward. Otherwise, just solid. Like, I don't think Watford will get relegated, but I think they won't get higher than mid-table. They're just Watford, aren't they? You just forget about them. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but they're just Watford. You just forget they're a Premier League club sometimes. West Ham. Wow. West Ham. This is probably one of the teams I'm most interested to see. They have splashed the cash, without a doubt. The most important signing I think they made was Pochettino. Not Pochettino. I always get confused, don't I? Oh my god. Pellegrini. Pochettino. That would be a good signing if they got Pochettino. Pellegrini. Proven manager. Did well with Man City. Very, very solid, which very stable, very calm manager, which I think West Ham need. I don't think David Moyes did a bad job. I just think his biggest problem is he's called David Moyes, and that's that. But yeah, got him in. Brought in some big players, big money. Felipe Anderson, the one that really surprised me, because he'd been linked with a host of big clubs, and West Ham I think pulled off a bit of a coup there. The only thing I will say is Felipe Anderson, if you look at his highlights on YouTube and stuff like that, you'll be like, this guy's world class. Well, there's a reason why he's joining West Ham and not one of the bigger clubs, in a similar way to like Max Meyer, I guess, joining Palace. Inconsistency, very inconsistent. If Pellegrini can address that, they have a star on their hands there, because he has all the talent in the world, magnificently talented player, going for Lazio. So yeah, we'll see with him. He's a guy, a bit of a dark horse. I think I might put him in my fantasy football team, because he's the sort of guy who could just just score a hat-trick and explode out there, or he could do nothing. I guess that's not a great way to put in your fantasy football team, but I just have a feeling like he's going to come into this West Ham side and do well in their first game. Who is their first game? Liverpool. Oh god, that's going to be a humdinger of a match, isn't it? Goalkeeper-wise, they signed Fabianski from Swansea, who went down. I think Fabianski's a good keeper, and I think that's a solid signing because Adrian looked a little bit ropey. Defence-wise, I still think they look a little bit shaky. I think Cresswell's good left back, Byram's decent. I think Reed's getting on a little bit now. That's 30, it's still alright. I just think players are much older than they are because he feels like he's been around for ages. Zabaleta is getting on a bit now. Was he 34? 33? Okay, that's close. Yeah, Reece Oxford, we heard a lot about him and then we didn't hear anything about him, so I'll be interested to know if he's going to play a part this season. Balbuena, they signed him, Paraguay. Not too sure about him personally, but we'll see. And really, I think West Ham were blighted by injuries last season. If they can avoid them this season, Lanzini is injured, we know that, which is a blow. But like Mikel Antonio was injured. I don't know if he's going to hang around or not. There's rumours that Palace are going to try and sign him, but I don't know about that. But Wilshere, if he can stay injury free, could be a good signing for them. Yeah, I think they look solid enough in midfield that they should be okay without anything spectacular. I think that's probably their biggest down point up front. I think they look really good. I think good kind of Felipe Anderson is more of a forward, a wide attacking forward. You know, you got him, Arnautovic, Yarmolenko, Chidera, Andy Carroll, the young Jordan Hughes, decent striker. That's a really good forward line. If Andy Carroll can stay fit, he could do well for them. But that's a big if, isn't it? Like West Ham have got so many injury-prone players, it's unreal. But yeah, Yarmolenko's a good player. Arnautovic can look world-class on his day, and then the next day he can't. For me, that's the downside to West Ham, though, is they have too many of these players who don't necessarily turn up for every game. In Felipe Anderson and Arnautovic, if those two, you would imagine both of them going to start. If they both have a bad day or they're both not up for it, West Ham could struggle in whatever game. But if they're both on fire, then West Ham could look incredible. It's going to be a really interesting season. Like, as a West Ham fan, people must be excited for this season. Like, I can't for the life of me see them being anywhere near the relegation zone. Whether or not they're going to be able to, crack that top 8, it's going to be tough, But I think they're better equipped than Everton are this season. So I'm not saying that Everton aren't going to crack the top 8. I'm just saying, if someone said to me, hey, who's going to finish 7th out of Everton or West Ham, I'd put more money on West Ham, put it that way. And last but not least, Wolverhampton Wanderers back in the Premier League. Very happy to see Wolves back in the Premier League. Very, very big club. Been out of it for a long time. Remember the days of Steve Ball and Robbie Keane, looking good. Interesting project going on at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Signed a lot of players. A lot of Portuguese names in there. That's weird, isn't it? It's almost as if they are kind of in some way linked to a massive Portuguese super agent. Anyway, it's been well documented. Their links to what's his name, Ronaldo's agent. Can't remember his Mendes, isn't it? Yeah, Mendes, who has facilitated a lot of these moves. To what extent he has a part to play with Wolves, we don't really know, but we have to assume everything's above board and okay. And they've signed some very good players from it, very good Portuguese players. Ruben Neves was one of the players of the Championship last season, without a doubt. Magnificent midfielder, still very young. Was he 21? 21, yeah. He's going to improve. A lot of people saying they think Wolves could challenge, for that kind of top 10 position. They could really push on. I think they need to make a few more signings yet. I'm I'm not sure they have that striker yet who's going to give them 20 goals in a Premier League season. I could be wrong, but I don't think they've quite got that yet. They've got a pretty decent midfield. I think their defence is a little bit wonky for Premier League standard, I'm saying. But you know, they obviously won the championship fairly comfortably. They had a little bit of a wonky end to the season, I think, but it was pretty comfortable in the end between them and Cardiff. I think Cardiff was second, weren't they? Yeah, Wolves won it. So, out of all the promoted clubs, Wolves for me shouldn't be anywhere near that relegation zone. They should be, if they finish, you know, between 10th and 14th. I think that's a really good season for them, and I think they're capable of achieving that. I think they need to make some more signings if they want to push on, but they're certainly not short of a bob or two, are they? So they could do that. They'll be interesting to watch, and they could be a bit of a dark horse. I've talked before about a new like Premier League bounce you get where you come into the Premier League, especially if you've had a good season in the Championship like they have. And you know, we'll see. They'll have that confidence coming in that they can compete. They've got Everton first game of the season, and that'll be a great test for them because Everton will have ambitions for, you know, top 8, top 6, well, 6th, shall we say? And you know, with Marco Silva in there, that would be a really, really fascinating game, I think, to watch. There were some cracking games on this opening weekend. You know, Man United, Leicester, Newcastle, Tottenham. I'd say Bournemouth, Cardiff is interesting just because I want to see how Cardiff do. Fulham, Crystal Palace, I'm interested in at the very least. Chelsea, Huddersfield. I think for me, that's not that interesting a game, weirdly, because we kind of know both teams. I guess it is interesting because we're going to see how Sarri sets up his team and how they're going to play, and who are Chelsea going to have signed by them. Who could they possibly have lost? We've got Watford versus Brighton and Hove Albion. Probably the most boring game of the weekend, and no offence to either team. I could see that one being like a 1-1 draw. Wolves, Everton. Fascinating to know how Wolves are going to get on. Everton with Marco Silva and some of the signings they've made. Well, Richarlison, how they're going to get on. Liverpool, West Ham, I think is the game of the weekend though. That's going to be a humdinger, isn't it? Really. Southampton, Burnley. That's a bit of a Watford, Brighton, I think there. And then Arsenal versus Man City just to finish off the opening weekend. Unai Emery's first game in charge in the Premier League against the reigning champions, Man City. Like, fascinating. Anyway, that's been my kind of Premier League preview. My plans going forward are to do a fantasy football video / transfer deadline chat video, which I'm going to do and release next Thursday. But till then, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon, and I hope your team does well, whoever you support. Till then, bye bye.